In this section, our focus will be on the components or parts of cardiovascular system. So, as discussed earlier, this system is composed of heart, a muscular organ that pumps blood into the blood vessels, tubular structures, or highways that transports blood throughout the circulatory system. And lastly, the most important one, that is being transported throughout the system, none other than a very vital fluid of our body. That is the blood. Here we are going to discuss them one by one. Starting with blood. Blood is an important connective tissue in fluid form. The average human body of around 7 to 5 kg contains about 4 to 5 liters of blood. It is considered as the fluid of life because it carries oxygen from lungs to all parts of the body and carbon dioxide from all parts of the body to the lungs. It is known as fluid of growth because it carries nutritive substances from the digestive system and hormones from endocrine gland to all the tissues. The blood is also called the fluid of health because it protects the body against the diseases and gets rid of the waste products and unwanted substances by transporting them to the excretory organs like kidneys. So we can say blood is a liquid connective tissue that mainly transports many substances through the body and helps to maintain homeostasis of nutrients, wastes, and gases. Let's look at the composition of blood. Blood is a homogeneous liquid. That means it has similar composition throughout and is made up of formed elements that are actually blood cells and form about 4 to 5% of blood. Plasma, that is the liquid portion of blood and accounts for about 55% of it. And the combination of plasma and formed elements is called whole blood. When a blood sample is spun in a centrifuge, the heavier formed elements that are normally red blood cells sink, whereas the plasma rises at the top. A thin, whitish-colored layer called the buffy coat is present at the point where the RBC join the plasma. This layer is made up of leukocytes and platelets. Let's learn in depth about these structural components of blood, starting with formed elements. The formed elements of blood include erythrocytes, 9 to 5%, leukocytes, 0.1%, and platelets, 4.8%. First formed element that we are going to discuss here it is, erythrocytes. Here, erythros means red. Erythrocytes are commonly known as red blood cells. Normal count of RBC ranges between 4 and 5.5 million/cubic millimeter of blood. These cells are named so because of its red appearance. And this red color of the red blood cells is due to the presence of the coloring pigment called hemoglobin, where hemoglobin is an important protein, makes up about 1/3 of red blood cells. It is mainly responsible for the ability of the cells to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide. Structurally, it consists of globin protein that has 4 polypeptide chains, 2 alpha and 2 beta, that each bind a ring-like heme group. Each heme group has an iron atom in its very center. There is an interesting fact. One hemoglobin molecule can transport 4 molecules of oxygen, binds with each iron atom, whereas one red blood cell consists of about 250 million hemoglobin molecules, meaning that each of them can contain approximately 1 billion oxygen molecules. So we can say the functional capacity of RBC mainly depends on hemoglobin. Although major function of RBC is the transport of respiratory gases, it mainly performs 4 main functions: transport of oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. Hemoglobin in RBC combines with oxygen at the level of alveoli to form oxyhemoglobin. About 97% of oxygen is transported in blood in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Transport of carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs. Hemoglobin also has ability to combine with carbon dioxide directly and thus form carb hemoglobin. About 30% of carbon dioxide is transported in this form. Also, RBC contain a large amount of the carbonic anhydrase. This enzyme is necessary for the formation of bicarbonate from water and carbon dioxide, so it holds carbon dioxide as bicarbonates. Thus, it helps to transport carbon dioxide in the form of bicarbonate from tissues to lungs. About 6 to 3% of carbon dioxide is transported in this form. Third function is its buffering action in blood. Hemoglobin functions as a good buffer. During the conversion of carbon dioxide into bicarbonate, hydrogen ions liberated in the reaction are buffered by hemoglobin, which is reduced by the dissociation of oxygen. This buffering helps maintain normal pH, and thereby plays a role in the maintenance of acid-base balance. RBC also play a role in blood group determination. As RBC carry the blood group antigens like A antigen, its presence is responsible for blood group type A. B antigen, responsible for type B, presence of both antigens, determine blood group type AB, while absence of these antigens determine type O, and Rh factor, responsible for positive or negative blood groups. This helps in determination of blood group and enables to prevent reactions due to incompatible blood transfusion. After erythrocytes, next important formed element is white blood cells, or leukocytes. Leukocytes are also termed as white blood cells, WBC. As word leuko is derived from Greek word leukos means white. These leukocytes are the colorless and nucleated formed elements of blood. Compared to RBC, the WBC are larger in size and lesser in number. As normal blood count of leukocytes is 4,000 to 11,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. Yet functionally, these cells are important like RBC because of their role in defense, mechanism of body, and protect the body from invading organisms by acting like soldiers. Based on the presence or absence of granules in the cytoplasm, the leukocytes are classified into two groups. 1. Granulocytes, which have granules. 2. Agranulocytes, which do not have granules. Granulocytes are further classified into three types: neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, whereas agranulocytes that have plain cytoplasm without granules are of two types: monocytes and lymphocytes. Let's have a look at their structure and function. First granulocyte here are neutrophils. Neutrophils, which are also known as polymorphs, have fine or small granules in the cytoplasm. Nucleus is multilobed, with no lobes in younger cells and 2 to 5 lobes in older neutrophils. Diameter of neutrophils is 10 to 12 micrometer. Neutrophils play an important role in the defense mechanism of the body. Along with monocytes, they provide the first line of defense against invading microbes. Neutrophils are released in large number at the site of infection from the blood. Then they move by diapedices towards the site of infection by following chemotaxis. These neutrophils destroy the invaders by either phagocytosis or NET, neutrophil extracellular traps, in case of large pathogens. Ultimately, after completing its role, along with dead bacteria or foreign bodies, they become the part of whitish-yellow fluid called pus. Next granulocyte are eosinophils. Eosinophils have coarse, larger granules in the cytoplasm. Nucleus is bilobed and spectacle-shaped. Diameter of the cell varies between 10 and 14 micrometer. Eosinophils play an important role in defense against parasites and allergic diseases like asthma. During parasitic infections, there is a production of a large number of eosinophils which move towards the affected tissues. Eosinophils are not phagocytic like neutrophils, so they attack invading parasites by some special type of cytotoxic substances present in their granules. When released over the invading parasites from the granules, these substances become lethal and destroy the parasites. Next, granulocyte are basophils that also have coarse granules in the cytoplasm. Nucleus is bilobed. Diameter of the cell is 8 to 10 micrometer. Basophils release histamine and heparin as part of the inflammatory response and are similar to tissue mast cells. Now let's have a look at agranulocytes. That includes monocytes and lymphocytes. Monocytes are the largest leukocytes with diameter of 14 to 18 micrometer. The cytoplasm is clear without granules. Nucleus is round, oval and horseshoe-shaped, bean-shaped or kidney-shaped. Like monocytes, the lymphocytes also do not have granules in the cytoplasm. Nucleus is oval, bean-shaped, or kidney-shaped. Depending upon the function, lymphocytes are divided into T lymphocytes, cells concerned with cellular immunity; B lymphocytes, cells concerned with humoral immunity; and natural killer cells involved in innate immunity. All these agranulocytes play a role in defense of the body against invading microbes. They have ability to release cytokines or inflammatory mediators. At the site of infection, they can undergo phagocytosis or direct killing of microbe, or present it as antigen. This presentation as antigen attracts T and B cells, where T cells coordinates the immune responses, while B cells converts into plasma cells and produce immunoglobulins or antibodies against invading antigen. Thus, by all these mechanisms, they defend the body against invading agents. After leukocytes, third formed element is platelets. Platelets, also known as thrombocytes. These are the small, colorless, and non-nucleated bodies. These formed elements of blood are considered to be the fragments of cytoplasm. Their diameter ranges between 2 to 4 micrometer. Normally, platelets are of several shapes, like spherical or rod-shaped, and become oval or disc-shaped when inactivated. Inactivated platelets are without processes or filopodia, but during activation, the platelets change their shape, with elongation of long filamentous pseudopodia, which are called processes or filopodia. Filopodia help the platelets move and aggregate together. Normally, platelets are inactive and execute their actions only when activated. Activated platelets immediately release many substances. Functions of platelets are carried out by these substances. So, platelets play a role in blood clotting. Platelets are responsible for the formation of intrinsic prothrombin activator. This substance is responsible for the onset of blood clotting. Role in clot retraction. In the blood clot, blood cells, including platelets, are entrapped in between the fibrin threads. Cytoplasm of platelets contains the contractile proteins, namely actin, myosin, and thrombosthenin, which are responsible for clot retraction. So, to prevent disruption in blood flow, role in prevention of blood loss or hemostasis. Platelets accelerate the hemostasis by 3 ways. Fissit platelets secrete 5-hydroxytryptamine, which causes the constriction of blood vessels. Second, due to the adhesive property, the platelets seal the damage in blood vessels like capillaries. And thirdly, by formation of temporary plug, the platelets seal the damage in blood vessels. Next, role of platelets in repair of ruptured blood vessels. Platelet-derived growth factor, PDGF, formed in cytoplasm of platelets, is useful for the repair of the endothelium and other structures of the ruptured blood vessels. Now, last role in defense mechanism. By the property of agglutination, platelets encircle the foreign bodies and destroy them. Platelets can undergo phagocytosis of microbes as well. Other than formed elements, the fluid portion that makes up 55% of blood is plasma. 92% of blood plasma is composed of water. Other components of plasma are electrolytes, wastes, nutrients and gases like nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, and plasma proteins that are around 7% of plasma and play very vital roles. Common plasma proteins are albumin, globulin, and fibrinogen, and their normal values are total proteins, 7.3 gram per deciliter, or more accurately, it ranges between 6.4 to 8.3 gram per deciliter. Serum albumin, 4.7 gram per deciliter. Serum globulin, 2.3 gram per deciliter. Fibrinogen, 0.3 gram per deciliter. Let's look at the functions of plasma proteins. Plasma proteins are very essential for the body. They play a very important role in coagulation of blood. Fibrinogen is essential for the coagulation of blood, where it gets activated by thrombin and form a long, sticky thread-like substance called fibrin. That forms a meshwork in which it traps RBC and platelets, forming an insoluble clot there. In this way, it plays a role in blood clotting or coagulation. Role in defense mechanism of body. Gamma globulins, that are important plasma proteins, play an important role in the defense mechanism of the body by acting as antibodies, immune substances. These proteins are also called immunoglobulins. Role in transport mechanism. Plasma proteins are essential for the transport of various substances in the blood. Albumin, alpha globulin, and beta globulin are responsible for the transport of the hormones, enzymes, etc. The alpha and beta globulins play an important role in the transport of metals in the blood as well. Role in maintenance of osmotic pressure in blood. At the capillary level, most of the substances are exchanged between the blood and the tissues. However, because of their large size, the plasma proteins cannot pass through the capillary membrane easily and remain in the blood. In the blood, these proteins exert the colloidal osmotic pressure and maintain the normal osmotic pressure of the blood. That is normally 25 millimeter mercury. Role as reserve proteins. Plasma proteins are split into amino acids by the tissue macrophages. Amino acids are taken back by blood and distributed throughout the body to form cellular protein molecules. Because of this, the plasma proteins are called the reserve proteins. Role in viscosity of blood. Plasma proteins provide viscosity to the blood, which is important to maintain the blood pressure. Albumin provides maximum viscosity than the other plasma proteins. So this was all about blood, the first and foremost component of cardiovascular system.